was your favorite candy bar?
Mr. Beast.
You like the Mr. Beast bar. Why?
Because, you can win the golden ticket and you can win like 1,000 of money.
Oh, you want to win the golden ticket?
Yeah, so I could meet Mr. Beast.
What would you do if you won the golden ticket? What would you spend the money on?
I would spend it on my grandma for her bills.
Your grandma lives in Mexico, right?
I don't know. She lives in Oaxaca.
Would you...
Hello, my name is Ella Hite, and today I'm going to be speaking to you about a student that I taught whose name is Yosef. Yosef is 9 years old. He's a boy, obviously, by me using he a lot. His favorite colors are blue and red. His favorite movies are the Super Mario Brothers movie and WALL-E. He specifically likes Eve from WALL-E. His favorite animal is a German Shepherd. He used to own 2, but he had to give them both away for various reasons due to heat and infections. He loves Marvel, simply because he believes the graphics are better than those of DC. He doesn't like cats because they scratch you when you try to give them a bath. He likes FIFA more than Pokemon, but he does like FIFA and Pokemon. He believes that FIFA became more popular because of the World Cup, and also because, as he put it,
it's because Pokemon Company is getting lower.
His favorite Pokemon is something called a Wakaza, I believe. I'll put a picture up of it. I don't know. His favorite foods are pizza and cheese sticks. That's one of his favorite foods, specifically the pizza and cheese sticks from CC's, but he wants to try the pizza and cheese sticks from Papa John's. He also really loves ramen, but his favorite all-time food is empanadas, specifically empanadas that have chicken and cheese in them. His favorite games are Mario Kart, he loves Rainbow Road, and Dog Hotel. He also really loves Takis, and he loves the I like to eat apples and bananas song.
I like to eat apples and bananas. Yes, I like to eat apples and bananas.
As a person, he's very quiet and reserved in big groups, but when you talk to him one-on-one, he is very, very talkative. He works well with others. Even though he is a quiet one, he will help others when need be. And his best friend is a boy named Edward who lives in the same apartment complex as him, and they both play games on Edward's Xbox together. This now brings us into the first section, now that you have the background of Yosef, is his relationship with school. He seemed to really love being in the summer program at Corners Outreach, but of course that is a summer program, so I wanted to ask him more about his life at school. It seems like he goes to Hightower Elementary like everybody else. He knew a lot of the teachers that they were talking about, but he never fully confirmed it. When I asked his opinion of school, like how a typical day of school is for him, he said kind of good. Yosef is a 3rd grader that is rising into 4th grade, and he revealed that his 3rd grade was departmentalized, and he changed classes based off of subject, and I suspect that is how it's going to be in the 4th grade as well. He's very excited to go to 4th grade. He has even talked about getting ready for 5th grade. He really wants to be at a 5th grade reading level. He talked a lot about his favorite subjects. From what I can gather, he likes all the subjects. He just really loves learning. He specifically talked about science and social studies, but I will point out that when I did teach him for math, he was very good at math and very invested in what I was teaching and seemed to really like helping others with the math as well. So I do think he does have a interest in problem solving, but the 2 that he talked about the most were science and social studies.
Alright, science.
Science, I like it.
You like science? Why do you like
it's
science?
because you get to do like engineering stuff and you get to do like projects.
He said his favorite experiment in science was building structures out of Play-Doh. He also really loves social studies. I can tell by firstly what he said during our reading of Abuela.
Later on in the book, there's the Statue of Liberty.
Do you know what the Statue of Liberty is?
Yeah, it's like a woman holding the fire thing, and it comes with her book.
So I got to see the Statue of Liberty once, but I didn't get to go up in it.
But what about is the history?
He also really loves social studies because of the books that he told me he checks out at the library. He said he loves checking out nonfiction books when he goes to the school library, specifically about dogs and soccer. He talked to me about a book he read about German Shepherds and the history of German Shepherds and what kind of behaviors they exhibit and what do you need to do to take care of a German Shepherd. Somebody please buy this boy another German Shepherd. He's ready, he's prepared for it. Speaking of libraries, let's talk specifically about his relationships with reading and English language arts. Joseph really does like reading, as he put it.
When you read, it sounds like real.
He doesn't go to the local library. He mostly gets books from the school library. He said that his family doesn't know where their local library is, so that's why they can't go. His favorite book is the FGTV series, which is a graphic novel, and he mainly talked about reading graphic novels, comics, and nonfiction books. And he also really enjoys picture books, but he told me that he's trying to get more into chapter books. He also told me that he reads books in English and in Spanish, but it's a little complicated. He said he mostly reads books in English, and when he does read books that have Spanish in it, it's usually about a word or phrases. It's a Spanish-English mix, but he would like to read in Spanish. And I know he can read Spanish because I tested him on it. When we were reading the book Abuela in small group, I messed up a word on purpose to see if he was following along with me, and I specifically messed up a Spanish word on purpose to see if he could read Spanish. So it was the word parque. I pretended to struggle with it, and he was able to know exactly where we were on the page. He was actively paying attention during the exercise, and he corrected me on my pronunciation. So he does know how to read in Spanish, and he does know how to read in English, and he is very good at doing so. I've also noticed during my read alouds that he's very good at picking up on reading comprehension strategies. The 3 reading comprehension strategies that I went over were prediction, visualization, and questioning. He was very good at making predictions. He knew right off the bat what a prediction was and was able to use the phrase, I predict. For questioning, it was the same thing. He knew how to do it right off the bat. He used the phrase, I wonder, very well. He came up with questions about all the books that we had read so far in the class. The only one that he struggled a little bit with was visualization. He didn't know what visualization was at first. It was a new word to him. But once I explained it to him, he picked up on the concept very quickly, and he was able to make the connections. Speaking of connections, he is amazing at making connections between books. For example, during our visualization exercise, I had him draw a picture combining the settings of the first book we read, Creepy Carrots, and the second book we read, Abuela. And he was able to do so. He created a park because Abuela went to the park and Creepy Carrots took place in a forest. So he made a park. One half was black and white, like how the setting in Creepy Carrots looked, and the other half was very colorful, like the setting in Abuela looked. So he also loves to start conversations about what we're reading. One of the key things that we were told to do during our read alouds was to not let students interrupt, model the behavior, and then let the students discuss. Joseph was having none of that. He wanted to put in his opinion and make his connections whenever he could. But it was great connections. Like I said about the park, he was also to make connections with social studies, like I showed before about when we were reading Abuela and the Statue of Liberty. With word studies, he also picked up very quickly. Both word studies that I did, the first one and the second one, both dealt with diphthongs. So for the first one, Joseph was the only student I had that day, and so I worked one-on-one with him. He did a very good job. He started by spreading all the words out, and then he sorted the groups by the first letter in the word. And then I explained to him that we could also sort the words by diphthong, and he didn't know what a diphthong was, and I explained it to him, and he picked up very quickly and was able to sort the words by diphthong. And then 2 days later, when we were doing reading comprehension and ELA again, another one of his classmates was there to join us, and Yosef was able to remember all of the rules that I had taught him about diphthongs. And he modeled them for his classmate and showed his classmate what to do. So when I gave them the word study, he showed his classmate, okay, we're going to spread all the words out first. And then he took a step back and let his classmate sort them by first letter first. And then he stepped in and told them we can also sort it by diphthong. So he was repeating the behavior that I had modeled for him at the previous session. However, there was some issues with reading words with diphthongs. So he understood that OW, for example, could make when blended together, can make the sound ow. However, he couldn't comprehend fully in the time I was with him that OW could make as a vowel blend, could make other sounds. For example, he knew that gown was pronounced gown, but he didn't know that blown was pronounced blown. He would pronounce it blown because he only thought that OW made the ow sound. But that's something that he can easily learn and pick up. One thing that I found very interesting was when I was one-on-one with him and I lined up all the books that we had read, I asked him what his favorite book was, and he said it was Abuela. But when his other classmates were around, he would change his answer to Creepy Carrots. And this is very revealing of him, as you will find out in this next section about his family and home life. As it was revealed in the intro of this video, Yosef has never met his grandma. His grandma lives in Mexico, specifically Oaxaca, and he has never met her. And this ties into his home life because through my conversations with him, his how he came to come into the country with his family is very unclear. I have received various stories from Yosef about how everything went down. I was receiving various different lines of information. So not only was I hearing conflicting stories from Yosef, one of my peers was also interviewing his sister. He has a younger sister named Josie. She's 6. She also was at the summer camp. And we shared our research together, and this is what we have found. So the first time I sat down and talked to Yosef about his family, he told me that his mother was born in Oaxaca, his father was born in Mexico, his younger sister was born in Mexico, and he was born in Georgia. Specifically, he named out Piedmont. Now, he also said that his family moved to the U.S. after his sister was born. So there was some conflict on that, except at this time, he did not tell me that his sister was younger than him. He led me to believe that his sister was older than him, and that his sister had been born in Mexico, they moved to Georgia, and then he was born. And then the second time I sat down with him and talked to him about his family, he changed the story. So this time, his sister Josie walked up, and I saw that she was younger than Yosef. She was 6 years old, she told me. That is when Yosef's story started to change. He told me after having a conversation with his mom that his sister was born in Georgia. And his sister told my peer the same thing, that both her and Yosef were born in Georgia. However, the story again conflicts because Yosef then says that they came to the US 3 years ago. And if Yosef is 9 and Josie is 6, that would have made them 6 and 3, respectively, when they came to the US. So I chose not to push anymore about this because I didn't want to freak the family out and I didn't want to freak Yosef out. But it was clear that he was wanting to tell me what the truth was or what his story really was, but he was very uncomfortable with doing so. So I wasn't going to do it. I wasn't going to push because I can understand and empathize with his family as to why they would not want that told. So that's just the information I have. Yosef also did not tell me about his living situation. So this information comes from my peer Darling and her interviews with the sister Josie that Yosef neglected to tell me about. That in my questions about his home life, he never brought up, and I can understand why. But Yosef, his mom, his dad, and his sister all live together in one room. So they live in a 2-bedroom apartment with his aunt and uncle. And his aunt and uncle have a room, and him, his mother, father, and sister Josie have a room. Yosef has his own bed, while his mother, father, and Josie all sleep in the same bed, and he did not tell me that. He did tell me, though, that at home he speaks in English and Spanish. He speaks in English to his sister Josie, and then he speaks in Spanish with his mother and father. He is teaching them English, though. At the end of this project, I think I've realized that while we're taught to seek the whole truth about our students, sometimes that's not the best for them. I regret asking so many questions about Yosef's home life because that probably made him very uncomfortable. And while I don't think that affected the rapport that we had, I can see how that could affect a long-term relationship, such as being a teacher for a whole school year. So while I do believe that we do need to connect more with our students, we should be very mindful of the questions that we ask them and how far we are willing to probe. Because I think it's more important than rather knowing the status, the immigration status of Yosef and his family, knowing how much he loves reading, how much he loves his abuela, how much he loves Pokemon and FIFA and Dog Hotel. That's more important.